Thank you, Mercedes, and thank you, Carl and Connie and everyone at BESIG. I wonder if people can hear me. Okay, I've got 2 yeses, 3 yeses. I'm conscious that the audio has been cutting out from time to time, so I've been wondering whether it's possible to give a talk in which every other word makes sense in case you missed the ones in between, but I haven't been able to work out how to do it. What I'm going to be talking about are some one-to-one classes that I've given, which I'm calling case studies, and they aren't from a specifically business point of view. One is from EAP, one was a general English class, and the other one was a class that was associated with some teacher training. So this first slide you may be able to see here is a photograph which I need not have included, so I apologise about that. It also features a picture of a book I've written with Scott, Teaching Unplugged. And most importantly, in terms of today's proceedings, it's a picture of 2 people talking. And these are my ideal teacher and learner in a one-to-one situation. I'll go to my next slide. And we can see a number of alternatives. This isn't a language I've invented. These are little sort of hieroglyphics of people. If we see the get a pointer here. Hold on a second. The pointer. I've lost it. Okay. If we look at the first picture on the top left here, where you should be seeing a little scratch I've made. This shows the kind of one-to-one lesson that I used to give many, many years ago, which involved me as the teacher really doing what at the time I did for classes, which is to find lots of books that I thought might be relevant, make lots of photocopies, and then find myself in a room with one person and put all sorts of materials between us. That's not how I think a one-to-one class is best done. And if I just put a little scratchy mark next to here, not rocket science to say that we're trying to lose most of these materials at least, and move to a situation where conversation is proceeding. The basis of Dogma ELT, as may know, some of you may know, and as described in the book Teaching Unplugged, which Lindsay very capably edited, is to allow language to emerge from the lives of the people in the room. Now, in some respects, it can be easier to do this with a class of learners because there are more people to talk. If you're in a multinational class, you've got more cultures to draw on, all sorts of different experiences. And so there's more to work with. However, in other respects, a one-to-one class can be ideal. Look, we've said that it can represent dogma at its most distilled, in the sense that teacher and the learner talk. Teacher can make notes from the language that the learner produces, and that language can then be discussed, provided, of course, that the learner, unlike the learner Lindsay described, actually wants to look at language. I think I recognise that learner, Lindsay. I think I taught the same person. So, in a sense, it sounds like an ideal scenario. You've got a teacher, a learner, you've got time to talk, and you've got the opportunity to make very specific language notes based on what the learner's said. However, sometimes the story, that what the learner has to say about themselves, and the language can be harder to reach. And I want to look at 3 examples of classes that I found difficult to start with for one reason or another, and I'll explain the hieroglyphics. So I'm also going to try and type here. What we have here is the teacher in this case myself, on the left, and a learner on the right who was extremely tense. So tense, in fact, that when he tried, he was an academic from Japan, and a high-flying academic. When he spoke English, he literally hunched up, he tensed up, his whole body language changed, and it became apparent that a major part of the challenge in trying to help this learner was not so much to do with the specifics of language, but there were issues there as well, as with quite simply the way he felt when he was speaking English. It's very important to bear in mind, and in a sense a one-to-one lesson gives us a chance to do this very easily because you're only with one person. It's always important to bear in mind what aspect of their personality someone brings to their second language learning. In this case, he was clearly a long way out of his comfort zone. Now, sometimes in training, people talk about the need people outside their comfort zone, the big comfort zones. And it's taken me about 40 years to build up any sort of comfort zone. So when I'm teaching someone, and especially in the case where someone visibly is so tense about speaking English, I kind of want to get them back in their comfort zone. I want to make them feel comfortable in their own skin. And in a sense, this was what the lessons became about. Yes, we talked a great deal. Yes, we developed role plays, partly from his experience in everyday life. So, even experts on tectonic plates have landlords and landladies and need to deal with them. And sometimes there were role plays and discussions derived from his studies at Imperial College in London. But many times in each lesson I would say to him, and I would mimic him in a way that I knew wasn't going to upset him. I said, you're tense again. And we worked very hard and allowing the English that was kind of inside him to come out more successfully. And the outcome of was that he, after several months of lessons, I think the lessons were once a week, so there were a fair number of lessons, he was able to give a talk to his colleagues at Imperial College in English. And I don't think that could have been achieved if I'd gone in there focusing solely or mainly on language. So that was one example of where an unplugged approach, I think, helped the learner.